In today's video, we are going to create an amazing poster design for Heinz tomato ketchup. Grab your mouse as we dive in. First things first, we are going to create a new document. Choose a solid color. We are going to create another solid color. With the mark selected, Ctrl-I to invert. With a soft hand brush, we are going to increase the opacity. Hardness is 0. Foreground is set to white. We are going to right click and change the roundness and the angle of the brush. So we have it this way. Then we are just going to paint some back. We are going to reduce the opacity. Now let's grab this texture, Ctrl-C to copy, Ctrl-V to paste. Ctrl-T to transform. We are going to set the blend mode to soft light and set opacity to 11. Holding down Shift, we are just going to copy all these layers together, Ctrl-C to copy, Ctrl-V to paste. So we are going to adjust and position this right here. This layer goes up all the way to the top. So with the arrow key, we are just going to adjust this a bit. Ctrl-T to transform, we are just going to right click and warp that. So we are going to position this right here. Ctrl-J to make a copy. Then we position the copy right here. Ctrl-T, right click, and we are going to rotate it at 90% clockwise. With all these layers selected, with the left arrow key, we are just going to move it a bit. Ctrl-J to make a copy. We position it somewhere here. We make it smaller. With this layer selected, Ctrl-J to make another copy. Then we position it right here. We make it smaller. We are going to create a curves adjustment layer above all layers. With this layer selected, we are going to create curves adjustment layer. Clipped onto the layer, so the effect applies solely to the layer. With the layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer already clipped onto the layer. With the mark selected, Ctrl-I to invert. With a soft hand, we are just going to paint some back, so we are painting some shadows. Right click and set roundness and the angle at default. Foreground set to white, we are going to increase the brush size and we are going to be painting some shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer already clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl-I to invert. With a soft hand brush, foreground is white, we reduce the opacity. Then we are going to paint some shadows. So we are going to create a solid color. With the layer selected, we are going to set blend mode to linear dot add. Right click on the layer, then we go for blending options. So we are just going to move this slider a bit. We hold Alt and we are going to break the handles. Then we hit OK. With that in place, we are going to select the mask. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft hand brush, we are going to set foreground to white, increase opacity, and we are going to be painting some back. Foreground is set to black to erase, set to white and we paint. With this layer selected, we are going to create a curves adjustment layer, clipped onto the layer. With same technique, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer, so we are going to be painting some shadows. So we create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, we invert the mask by pressing Ctrl I. With a soft hand brush, we are just going to be painting some shadows. With this layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. So basically, we are using the same technique. We set foreground to white. With a soft hand brush, we are just going to paint some shadows. So we're just going to reduce the opacity for this. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer, and this is for highlight. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. With a soft hand brush, we are going to increase opacity. Foreground is set to white. Then we are just going to paint some back. With the layer selected, we are going to reduce the opacity. Create another exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert to increase opacity. Foreground is set to white and we are just going to paint some back. Reduce the opacity right here. Now we are going to create a new layer with a soft tone brush. Foreground is set to white. Opacity is set to 100. We are just going to click once. Set the layer blend mode to soft light and reduce the opacity. With this layer selected, we are going to press Ctrl J to make a copy. Then we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto it. With the layer selected, Ctrl T, we right click and we are going to distort. Once that is in place, we are going to apply Gaussian blur. We are going to create a mask. With the mask selected, with a soft tone brush, we are going to reduce opacity, set foreground to black. Once we have everything in place, we are going to press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. Right click and convert that to a smart object. Then we go for camera raw, so filter, camera raw, filter. We are just going to play with these settings until we like the outcome. Once that is looking good, then we hit OK. Camera raw is like the icing on the cake. It actually makes it look way better. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I do hope to see you in the next one. Till next time, stay creative.